So now we are formally beginning our the last lecture. So in the past few lectures, we have done the detailed analysis of PMMC type of instrument, moving iron type of instruments, electrodynamometer type of instrument, and today we are going to consider the certain topics which will help you to continue our remaining section. So first is primarily I would say the electro dynamometer type of instruments and electrostatic instruments, not electrodynamometer instruments. So, if you see, I mean, some of the content of this particular lecture, as again, what I tell you, that is not in your syllabus, but maybe asked in your gate examination point of view or in any technical examination, examinations, because they may or may not follow your SSUT syllabus, not necessary. So, electrostatic type of instruments. Again, if you talk about electrostatic method, you have two different options. You can use a linear motion or you can use the angular, or that is called the rotatory motion, right? So what is electrostatic instruments? So primarily if you see, the electrostatic instruments are nothing but they are the deflection is primarily uh, working on the principle of uh, generating a deflection torque. And how the deflection torque is produced? It is produced by the action of by changing the electric field, okay, on the conductor. So for example, in these two figures, you can see there are the two pieces of the conductors. Those are linearly keeping apart a certain distance d. And when these two plates will be charged, say for example, plate A is a fixed plate and plate B is attached with a spring, or in other words is a coil. Now whenever the current will pass through the coil, depending on the magnitude of current, it will generate a kind of heat, and because of that reason it will create a force over a particular direction, right? So how? So because I am considering the AC supply. So for example, plate A is right now experiencing a positive polarity, and B is exposed with a negative polarity. So if it is so, in that case, what will happen? Uh, the it will attract towards the plate A, and because it attracts towards the plate A, so then your spring, which is attached with the plate B, is going to experience a force, right? And because of which, if you are going to fix a pointer, if you are going to place a pointer connected vertically to your spring, so what will happen? It will force the pointer to move in a particular direction, either in forward or reverse direction. The same thing can be covered up because that is one case which may be used in case of a linear motion, but more popular is the rotary motions because it will consume lesser amount of space, area of cross section, to fabricate the device, the measuring device. So the same thing can be done, but here in case what we'll do, a fixed plate is obviously the fixed one, and the moving plate is the movable one, which is attached through the spring. Now the effective area, as you can see right now, theta. So the effective area covered between the moving plate and the fixed plate decides the how much force, or in other words how much torque it is going to be exerted over the pointer, and accordingly the pointer. So that's the simple philosophy. Okay. So these are the two ways as I've been told. So in other words, what experience you are getting, basically it is working on the principle of the variable capacitance. Okay. And due to the variable capacitance, the force or torque is exerted over the coil, over the spring, okay, in other words the pointer, okay, and in this mechanism is helping to move the moving electrode in such a position where the energy stored is maximum, right? So for example, if you wanted to calculate the amount of energy in terms of the capacitance, so how much it is half of CV square joule, right? That is the maximum amount of energy that can be retained by a particular capacitor. You know that I is equal to dq by dt. So can I regenerate in form of C dV by dt? Yes. So you can work it out now again, as we have seen in the electrodynamometer type of instruments and moving iron type of instrument because they are the current sensitive devices. So in that case, we have seen there is you follow V is equal to d phi by dt or E is or other word LDI by dt. So in other words, here it is basically voltage sensitive device. Okay, so it is a charge sensitive device or voltage sensitive device you can say, and therefore I is equal to dq by dt. Substitute the value of Cv now. So voltage is also variable, C that is the capacitance is also variable. So assume one at a time, and therefore you got the equation C dV by dt plus V dC by dt. Now therefore the amount of input energy that is Vi dt, that is the same. Substitute this value, the value of I in terms of V. So you are getting V square dC plus C into V into dV. Now therefore the change in stored energy, how much it is? So rate of change in the capacitance and change in the voltage. So change in capacitance is, let's say I am assuming is in forward direction, it is increasing. It can be reverse also. So if it is increasing, so then it is C plus delta C, and in change in voltage again in the forward direction, that is positive direction, that is V plus delta V, right? Minus of half of Cv square, that is the maximum amount of energy that is stored. So if you will make a difference, then the change in stored energy is half of V square dC plus Cv into dV. Now, if you will neglect the higher order term, as the quantity, the magnitude is going to be smaller. So from the principle of conservation of energy, again we will apply that the amount of input electrical energy should be equal to the mechanical work done plus change in the stored energy or increase in the energy, because right now we have considered in the positive side, it can be a negative. So better to write the change in stored energy. Okay, if you will substitute these values, so therefore amount of work done in terms of force is equal to half of v square dc by dx, right? So the same analogy you can follow as far as the rotary motion is concerned. Okay, in that case rather than force there will be deflection torque, and it is half of v square will remain same, it will become dc by d theta. Okay, so I would advise you that derive this particular expression for the rotary motion. Okay, that is your assignment number 8, I guess. Just check the assignment number. So that is the assignment number. So write down the torque equation, develop the deflection torque for electrostatic instruments as far as the rotary motion is concerned. Okay, that is your question. So that will be the answer. The way the expansion, the entire expression we have discussed for the linear motion, so rather convert it into the rotary motion. It's a simple thing, basic thing. Okay. So therefore, if you will compare with to achieve a steady state condition, what you require, you also require the same equal amount of the control torque. Let's say that control torque Tc is proportional to theta, and the K is the proportionality constant which comes from the spring constant. So therefore, theta is equal to half of V square by K into dc by d theta. Now, since the deflection is proportional to the square of the voltage to be measured, this theta is proportional to V square, because 1 upon 2K is a constant, dc by d theta is a very small incremental value that can be treated as a constant. Okay, so is to be measured, the instrument can use for measuring both the AC and DC. The instrument exhibits a square law response, and hence the scale is non-uniform as usual, like the moving iron instrument and the electrodynamometer type of instruments. Let's see what are the benefits and limitations offered by the electrostatic instruments very quickly. So these instruments require negligible amount of power. Okay, that's a good advantage. It can be used for both AC DC. They have a low frequency or waveform error. This is the distinguished advantage of any electrostatic instrument as compared to the previous three you have been seeing. Okay, so this particularly the moving iron and electrodynamic. PMMC we should not say, because generally we don't use PMMC for the AC measurement because of its poor efficacy, and for DC no, nothing is perfect, more perfect than the PMMC, right? So they have a no frequency and waveform error as you have experienced in case of moving iron and type of instruments and electrodynamometer type of instruments. Clear? And no hysteresis loss. So these are the advantages. Okay, and these kind of instruments are particularly suited for the high voltage environment in the transmission line, distribution lines, and so on and so. But nowadays, just for your information, it is not in your course. It has been replaced by the new technology that is called the Hall effect transducers. So we widely use it for the current and voltage measurement as far as the high voltage lines are concerned, okay, rather than using these traditional electrostatic instruments. But yes, you can. What are the disadvantages? So disadvantage is that you require a protective resistive mechanism which is connected in series with the instrument in order to limit the current. Okay. Otherwise, what happened? Your circuit can be short circuited or can be damaged in other ways. Instrument is expensive, large in size, not very robust construction, scale is non-uniform, and it can attain only small amount of forces to be exerted. Yeah. Now the induction type of instrument. I will not discuss induction type of instrument here in detail. Okay, we will touch up it, but now we will discuss these methods because ultimately these things will be widely utilized as far as the power measurement or energy measurement is concerned. So we will consider the detailed discussion of induction type of instruments under the head of module number 2. Now let's say take it for information. What is the induction type? These are basically again primarily you can say is a instrument which is used for primarily for the AC measurement only. Okay, and it can be used either as a voltmeter or ammeter or even the voltmeter. So it primarily works on basically the induction principle. Okay, so like in at your home you might have seen your induction heaters. Clear your what else you can say that induction heaters and microwave devices. Microwave though comes for different purpose, but induction is one of the basic and essential feature in case of microwave equipment. Okay. We use for the cooking purpose in as a home appliances devices in your day-to-day life from past 15 years. Yeah. So these things, okay. So how it works? So basically, it works on the again the deflection torque, which is produced due to the reaction, okay, between the fluxes of an AC magnet and the eddy current introduced or induced, I would say, by another flux. I repeat, it is the deflection torque in these kind of instruments is produced due to the reaction between the flux of an AC magnet and the remember the magnetism is keep on changing. AC magnets that mean to say and the eddy current induced by another flux. So what exactly we do? The operation of any induction type of instrument depends on the production of torque due to the interaction between the flux phi 1. For example, let's say that phi 1 is nothing but it is the magnitude of the flux depends on the current of is to be measured, and the phi 2 that comes from the eddy current induced in a metal dice or a drum by the another flux phi 2, and which is primarily again the magnitude is depends on the current and voltage. Since the magnitude of eddy current is also depends on the flux producing on them, the instantaneous value of the torque, remember the instantaneous value of the torque is proportional to the square of the current or voltage under the measurement, and therefore the value of the mean torque, okay, is proportional to the mean square value of the current. And remember why it is not RMS torque? As I've been told you that any mechanical instruments required some time. It cannot develop a very high inertia at a short time, like the amount of sensitivity the current variables have. That means the current or voltage have. So you can only measure the mean torque or average torque, not the instantaneous or RMS value. This is the demonstration, typical demonstration of any induction type of instruments. So from here you could have been appreciate that the amount of force exerted by a disk that is depending on V into I12, that is the amount of force which will be proportional to phi 1 I2 or F2 is proportional to phi 2 and I1. Clear? So if you are going to replace it by some proportionality constant and you assume that you are going to achieve the reason of steady state condition. In this steady state condition, remember the direction of flow of current is opposite, or that means direction of flow of current and the amount of flux induced, the induction effect is always in opposite direction. So therefore, the amount of torque will be exerted depending on the radius of the dias mine within bracket, that is F1 minus F2, the difference of the two, or in other words phi 1 I2 minus phi 2 I1. If it is so, in that case, if I assume that there is an instantaneous supply, that means there is some sinusoidal AC current is there or AC signal is there, where phi 1 is equal to phi 1 m, the maximum value of the flux sin omega t, and phi 2 is designated by the phi 2 m sin omega t minus alpha. Why alpha? Because you cannot claim that the amount of flow of the flux in both the direction are exactly same. Either of one of the current will be either leading or lagging by some margin. So we are assuming that that error of margin is secondary is lagging by alpha angle. Okay, so if it is so that then the induced EMF is d phi by dt, so you can express the value of induced EMF, that is omega phi 1 m cos omega t. Similarly, therefore, the amount of eddy current path to be on a pure resistive network, that value of the eddy current will be E1 by R. So divided by the value of, that is omega phi 1 m by R into cos omega mt. So remember, frequency is the only variable term here. So if frequency is constant, so then I1 is proportional to phi 1. Okay, so phi 1 m is a constant again. So similarly, E2 is equal to omega phi 2m. So remember, this 2m is subscript over here again. Okay, and upon R and uh, cos of omega t minus alpha. Okay, so if it is so, in that case, substituting these values of I1 and I2, what we will get? We will get the amount of torque is equal to K1 into uh, K1 into omega by R, and substitute these values from the previous equation 2.48. So do your permutation combinations, okay, apply the transformations, and finally, if you will apply your trigonometric expansions, simplify it. So ultimately what you are getting, k1 omega by r, by 1m is a constant, by 2m is also constant, and we are getting sine alpha, okay, which is equal to k2 omega phi 1m phi 2m sine, assuming k1 by r is some another constant k2. Ultimately, it is a constant. Now, if the torque is proportional to this statement, you see, what if alpha is equal to 0? We will discuss these things in detail. Okay, so alpha is equal to 0, that means two fluxes are in phase, are in absolute phase. Then there is a no torque, that means net torque is 0. Or in other hand, what if alpha is equal to 90 degree? In that is case, the net torque is maximum. Okay, for the given value of phi 1 and phi 2. Now, net torque in such a direction as rotated by the disk of the flux leading to towards a pole of lagging flux. It's a simple thing. Since expression of the torque doesn't involve, since the expression of torque doesn't involve time, it is independent from the time. This is what is the biggest advantage. Okay, so it has a steady state value. It is a steady value, or you can say that a fixed value you can attend it all the time. It doesn't matter whenever you do use these kind of instrument for the measurement purpose. It is not independent from the time variation. Biggest advantage, one of the major advantage. Then torque is also inversely proportional to, the torque is also inversely proportional to R. Okay, so the resistance of eddy current path, in the resistance of the hinge, it is made of the copper, or more often is the aluminum. Remember, torque is inversely proportional to the resistance. So if you can reduce the resistance, the torque can be attained, higher torque can be attained with the lesser time. So therefore, normally it is made of good conductive materials. In other words, here, electrothermal instruments. Again, will not ask, I may not, just check the syllabus, I may not ask in an examination point of view. So two different schemes we use, hot wire type of instruments, that is, in other words, is practically very famous name is we called anemometers. Okay, anemometers, I repeat. Okay, so that is hot wire anemometers is also called, or the hot wire type of instruments. And another is the thermocouple type of instruments. It is again based on the principle of the temperature variation, and these kind of thermocouple instruments in today's time can be very widely utilized for the measurement of force or the power or the voltage or current. Clear? Now, the hot wire and the thermocouple meter moments, these uses primarily the heating effect, as I've been told. How it generates the heat? Basically by flowing the or controlling the magnitude of the flow of current. Clear? Through a resistive device. Clear? So when you will flow it through some resistances or resistive device, resistive elements, then it causes the meter deflection. Okay, so the working principle in case of approach, that means the design approach of the hot wire type of instruments and the thermocouple instruments are different. Okay, but primarily it keeps under the same umbrella because both have experiencing the temperature, in other words the thermal effect. Okay, since their operation is depending on the heating effect of the current flow. Due to the current flow, they can measure both the direct and alternating current of any frequency on a single scale. Okay, remember this is very very important. Okay, so these kind of instruments are highly suitable for the measurement purpose as far as the AC or DC supplies are concerned, whether the current or whether voltage for any frequency. So it is free from the frequency variation. Okay, unlike the moving current type of instruments or the electrodynamo type of instruments. So the same scale without any calibration purpose, without anything calibrating, you don't require to convert a non-uniform scale into the modified uniform scale. Same scale you can use for the measurement of AC and DC values. Yeah, let's see just in a brief. So for example, in this figure you can see that the current is flowing through the metal piece, is shown in the hard or dark line, clear, and those the thicker conducting piece or the metal piece is connected through another uh, metal piece which is made of the phosphorus bronze type of wire. So remember the hot wire is different, that is, and the phosphorus bronze wire which is used to connect the spring and the pointer is the different material. Okay? So, so across the meter terminal, what happened? This hot wire, because of this hot wire, what will happen? The expansion of the resistive resistances, which is called, that will cause the heating effect. And because of why it happens? Because of the flow of the current. So, if the magnitude of the current is increasing, it will create more force. That means that phosphorus bronze wire will experience more force, more tension over the create the spring, and therefore it allow the pointer to move from, let's say, negative left to right, okay, to the higher scale or to the to achieve the full scale deflection, I would say. And if the magnitude of current is decreasing, then it is reverting towards the negative direction. Clear? So that is the thing, that spring connected to the opposite end of the thread is exerted a particular amount of tension that depends on the amount of current. That's how the hot wire instruments works. Clear? Let's see some advantage and disadvantages. So from here, you might have seen one thing, that because it is free from the frequency variation and the same scale you can use for the AC and DC measurements. So what kind of instrument it is? That means you can calibrate it using the DC and you can measure the AC also. Okay, so it is nothing but it's a transfer type of instrument. So hot wire type of instrument, like the electrodynamometer type of instrument, is also a transfer type of instrument. What's the difference between these two mechanisms? Hot wire instruments doesn't depend on frequency variation, whereas the electrodynamometer type of instruments may affect due to the frequency variation, particularly at the smaller frequencies. Okay, the measurement of smaller frequencies and the larger frequencies could be a very very different. Okay? As the frequency is increasing, the time period is changing, right? So these are also called the transfer type of instruments. It depends upon the RMS value of the current flowing through the wire, irrespective of its waveform or frequency. As I have been told that it is free from the frequency variation, it can measure both the AC and DC value. Construction is very cheap, so it's a cost effective and simple design. Okay. One problem could be that error due to the temperature variation is there, but that can be neglected by selecting. That is the reason that why this small thinner conductor part we have used of phosphorus bronze wire, because phosphorus bronze wire is has a very less temperature sensitivity. It's a positive one. Temperature coefficient is positive, but the amount of temperature variation is very very less. Okay? So it will be not exposed to much to the temperature variations. Yeah, and these type of instruments are quite suitable for very high frequency measurement. You can achieve up to certain range of kilohertz, also 20 kilohertz, 50 kilohertz range. Yeah, power consumption is high, non-uniform scales, but these are not some major advantages. Power consumption, yes, you can say, is one of the major limitations. Okay? Thermocouple type of instruments. Now it works on the principle of thermocouple effect. Okay, so if you have idea, then good. Then otherwise, I would say that take more information about the thermocouple effect. What is thermocouple effect? So basically, whenever you two dissimilar metals, okay, so two dissimilar piece of metals establish a junction, form a junction. In that case, a voltage is generated, right? Voltage is produced at the junction. Why? Because there are two different metal pieces are there, and even the same amount of will flow through it will experience the different amount of the temperature variation or the heat, and because of that what happened, the voltage is generated or is induced over the junction of the contact, or in other words the contact point, and the amount of voltage is generated over the contact point is nearly proportional to the temperature of the junction, and these kind of junction are called the thermocouples, as you can see over here in this particular demonstration. Okay, so the piece of metals are the different, and therefore the heat will be generated at the junction. Because of this, it induces the voltage, it generates the voltage. This is called your uh, thermocouple effect. Once it is there, then this um, voltage, electromotive force, can be connected through another device that is called your PMMC meter, so that PMMC meter can give you the exact amount of reading because of its high sensitivity. Okay, so the heat at the junction is produced by the electrical current flowing through the heating element, you can say, while the thermocouple produces the EMF at the output of the terminal, as you can see over here, which can be measured easily with the help of using a PMMC device. So these thermocouple type of instruments can be used as for both AC and DC measurement, and particularly the most advantageous feature of these kind of thermocouple instruments is that you can measure the value of AC current or voltage of even of a very high frequency, even up to the megahertz range. Typically, even up to the 50 megahertz. It's much more than the last application what you see in case of hot wire type of instrument. Here you can reach up to a certain amount of tens or hundreds of kilohertz, but here you can achieve very easily around the megahertz range, 50 years of megahertz range. Yeah, very popular, very popular in the communication applications, satellite communications, and the different kind of high frequency applications. Clear? So these are not affected by the stray magnetic field. Very high sensitivity, as I've been said, very accurate. It can give you very accurate results for the high frequency applications, very high frequency application. These instruments are also very useful as a transfer type of instruments for calibrating the DC instruments by a potentiometer or standard cell, because you are using the PMMC side. Okay, that is the reason. Okay, are very useful as a transfer instruments. So how many transfer instruments we have seen? The three. Okay, electrodynamometer type of instrument, hot wire type of instruments, and the this thermocouple type of instruments also. What can be a disadvantage? Power losses due to the poor efficiency of the thermal conservation, low accuracy of the measurement and sensitive to the overload. Clear? And say for example, overload capacity of such instrument is approximately 1.5 times of the full scale current. Very poor performance. Clear? The multimeters, in other words, you can say, is more sensitive as it is it delicates than those which is applied in this shunt, and therefore it requires very careful handling. Clear? Rectifiers, obviously you know the application of the rectifiers. So these kind of rectifier instruments, it can be used as primarily for the what picture you see, it is a full wave rectifier obviously, and these kind of instruments are can be primarily used for the measuring the AC quantity. Okay, then the first AC signal is converted to the AC wave. So these DC signal can be measured with the help of the PMMC instrument. But you know that if you are going to use the PMMC instruments, obviously the response will be very poor. That is the limitations you have. Clear? So rather than what solution you can have, you can use a full wave rectifier rather than the half wave rectifiers. Because if you are going to use full wave rectifier, then obviously your efficiency will increase to around 2 times. Okay? Rather than the 45% of the half wave rectifier. You can check it. Yeah. And from examination point of view, these things can be asked. Otherwise, if it is not in beyond your syllabus, obviously I'm not going to ask. So I've been attached here. Just check it out through that. One of the topic we shall discuss, that is the true RMS voltmeter. Okay. Now, what is true RMS voltmeter? Whatever voltmeter right now we have been seeing, these voltmeters will measure the average or the peak value of the reading. When you will go to the market or vendor, if you will ask them voltmeter, they will offer you two different kind of voltmeters. One voltmeter very cheap, and another voltmeter is true RMS voltmeter. Okay, that can not only measure the average or peak value, but it can give you the proper RMS reading, true RMS reading across all the measurement. Clear? So what is the fact, what generally the average voltmeter they do, they calculate as some factor, form factor, and then we multiply it to convert it into the RMS reading. Okay, so remember that conventional meter is can only measure is suitable for the, say for example, sinusoidal signal. But if you are providing some kind of AC supply of non-sinusoidal signal, okay, where the average power is not zero, so in that case this will, that cannot be measured. Okay, so the RMS value of the variety of signal of the, or even the wide range of frequency variation, okay, this can be offered with the help of the true RMS voltmeters. Clear? So what exactly we do in case of these kind of instruments, how we design this true RMS voltmeter, as you can see in this demonstration. So we primarily use the thermocouple effect. Okay, we use the insulation board. We supply the current through the magnetic coil, and then through the conducting path, whenever it will pass through the insulation board, that insulation board is there. A thermocouple point you can see here, that black point, which is it is junction of the two dissimilar materials. It is used to measure the least variation in heat. And why the heat will be generated? Because if you are going to change the flow of the magnitude of current, the amount of heat dissipation or the rejection is going to be changed. Now this change in heat can be sensed by the thermocouple, which can be, as you have seen, that it can sense it very sensitively, even up to the very high frequency range. And therefore then that particular reading output of the thermocouple is passed through the PMMC device, and PMMC meter is going to use to display the reading. Okay, so bandwidth is not at all a problem. So these kind of application can be used for to measure or to design a true RMS voltmeter, even for the very high frequency range. So this is the thing what you see in your real life scenario, and normally these kind of instruments are very costly. Okay, so just to summarize it, let's say what we have discussed in PMMC, suitable for the DC measurement. What kind of control mechanism it use? Spring control. What kind of damping it is used? Eddy current damping. Okay, one of the most accurate type of DC measuring device, right? Dynamometers can measure both AC and DC. What kind of control? Spring control. What kind of damping? Air friction damping, mainly used for the wattmeters. Okay, or can be used as a standard meter for the calibration of the transfer type of instruments, because it can transfer, used as a transfer type of instrument. Moving iron, cheaper solution, uses air friction, but the control torque can be a spring or in the gravity, depending on that whether you are using the repulsion type or the attraction type. Okay, it can measure both the AC and DC. That is the advantage. Electrostatic can measure AC and DC both. Again, use the air friction, spring or the gravity, both can be used, because you already know that you have a two different approach: the linear and the uh, what you call the rotatory one. Clear? So these kind of instrument have a very low power consumption, that is the advantage, and it can offer the measurement up to the range of 500 volts. That's why it is very suitable for the high voltage measurement. Induction type AC measurement suitable. What control mechanism you use? Only spring, like PMMC and the dynamometer. And what kind of damping it is used? It uses eddy current damping, like the PMMC instrument is very expensive. Okay, and not do not offer very high degree of accuracy. So that is the limitation of this kind of instrument. Very suitable for measurement of power and energy, that we will discuss in the next module. Okay, then the hot wire type of instruments, thermocouple type of instruments, that is thermal instruments, is primarily suitable for both AC and DC. It's suitable for very high frequency range. First one, hot wire, suitable for kilohertz range, tens to hundreds of kilohertz range. Thermocouple 50 hertz, even up to, you can stretch up to some limit around 100 hertz also. Okay, and then another is a rectifier mechanism. Again, obviously can be used for DC and AC. Spring, the control mechanism, and the eddy current is used for the damping purpose, like the PMMC type of instruments. Eddy current is used for two. Okay, induction type PMMC, thermocouple, and rectifiers. So these are the things. So with this, we are going to end this session today itself. Okay. So test one I will be conducted at some other lecture due to the